Welcome to Gumball Love. I'm Melissa Ledger, professional relationship coach, creator of Gumball Love and the Back to You Academy. If you're ready to stop the cycle of toxic men, get through the breakup once and for all, and finally get back to you, you are in the right place. This journey is about healing your heart, and you are encouraged to take the pace that is just right for you. In the process, you will build a foundation of confidence and strength that will make you unshakable, I promise. So get ready to level up your mindset and your lifestyle as you awaken the seeds of greatness just waiting to burst into full bloom. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. All right, today we're going to dig right in and talk about the Blue Gumball. So if you've been following this series, I'm going through all 8 colors of the flavors of Gumball Love. If you're brand new to Gumball Love is the love of attention. And I go as far to say the addiction to the rush that attention gives us. And I break these 8 categories into the 8 flavors of attention that are the most common in people and the guys that we're trying to date to determine, is this guy addicted to the attention of the sugar high rush or the lust or all of the things that it encompasses, or is he actually looking for real connection? And how to quickly filter those guys out so that you can find the love that you've been looking for and the love that you deserve. So much time is wasted by providing gumballs and entertainment and drama and sex and all the exciting things, the adoration, when we are literally investing that in the wrong person. Because you can give a lot of those things. Look, there's gumballs in all relationships, and gumballs are great. We can adore each other. We can entertain each other. In and of themselves, they're not necessarily bad. But when someone is addicted and they look for that high and that rush, and they are not actually connecting on a deep level, and they are continually provoking or trying to get that reaction from you or get that high, that's when you know that you are with an addict and someone who has to work through that behavior, someone who has to acknowledge it and actually try to do something about it. Otherwise, you are basically just feeding or supplying. You become their drug dealer, essentially, and your drug that you offer is dopamine. So the next flavor is blue, and blue I've categorized pity me, because a lot of times we have depressed gumball guys. And so this one looks like, I'm afraid your friends won't like me. Oh, my friends will like you. Oh my gosh, they love you. Poor me. I wish things were better. Things will get better. You're such an amazing person. You have so much talent. It's all going to turn around. So we can all relate to this, right? Because we've all done this. And sometimes we do need a pick-me-up. Sometimes we do need a gumball. And our friends will more than likely give this to us. However, if you're the kind of friend that never allows herself to get out of these situations, we don't take it upon ourselves. So you are listening to this podcast. You are the girl that takes it upon herself to look at yourself. You're willing to do the work. And so I would highly doubt you're someone that's walking around in a pity party. But look, we've all done it before. We've all had, the year of 2020, we all have days, we have years. I've felt a little sorry for myself in 2020 of having to leave New York, and just everything was turned upside down. But my wonderful boyfriend would say, well, at least you have your family, and at least you have your friends, and we have each other, and things could be a lot worse. And it would be kind of annoying because he wouldn't let me wallow in the pity. He's not going to give me the blue gumball. Now, not to say that sometimes we really just need that nurturing and that love, but we're not trying to get pity. We are just in a situation. So I want you to understand that someone who gives you a pep talk, yeah, it's a little bit of a dopamine rush, But as long as you're not addicted to that and you're not doing things that put people in situations that they are doing those things, like, oh, I just feel so fat. We're looking for a gumball there. No, you're not fat. You look great. We have to be able to look in the mirror and go, you know what? I'm not where I want to be. This is my favorite Joyce Meyer, the preacher. I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be. So, when I was the height of my dancing, I think I was about 12 pounds thinner than I am right now. So I'm really not that far away, but I would look in the mirror, oh yeah, I used to be so much thinner when I was dancing, but I continue to work on it. I've lost a little here, toned up there. And and it's all coming back. It's not perfect. It's not exactly where I used to be, but I'm going along the way. So you have to be able to look at your body and say, you know what? I do like this part about my body and I do like that part. And we start to be our own encourager versus looking to other people to give us the gumball. So where this can get tricky is with gumball guys that you meet them, you're attracted, you have a fun courtship, you go on some fun dates, you really start to like them. And then as you get closer, they start to reveal certain things and you're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know that. And then you feel closer, yet they reveal things that aren't going so well, whatever those may be. And then we start to feel sorry for them. And then we start to help. And when we start to help them, and I think it's wonderful that we want to help. And I remember one of my friends said, Melissa, I don't think that you even need a guy that gives at your level, although I did find one, which is amazing. I just can't even, I never thought I would be with another giver. So that's a possibility. But she said when I was dating this very selfish guy, she said, I don't even think you need somebody to give at your level, but you just need someone that will appreciate what you give. And I said, yeah, I was just like, yeah, I love to give. I love to be nurturing and loving. But when there was no appreciation or no acknowledgement, it really started to break me down. And my friends and family who loved me could see that I was doing all of these things for this guy that was very depressed and always in a pity party. Work wasn't good, didn't like how he looked, didn't like how he sounded, didn't feel like anything was right. And so, of course, it wasn't it was just little things here and there. Oh, I can fix that, or I can make you feel better. And I started to gain value feeling value by helping him. And there's a difference between supporting your partner and being a team versus holding a person up. Does that make sense? Because we're all going to have periods of time where we aren't at our best. And we can be partners to our significant other, but if that significant other takes advantage of you and it makes it always about them all the time, is never acknowledging, hey, thank you for doing this. This is awesome. And then also can give back to you. That's when you know that there's a partnership and a teamwork. So people can be down and out. Everybody goes through it. And we are, as friends and family members, sisters, brothers, mothers, daughters, that's what we do. But when someone gets the high off of talking about problems and then everyone coming around and giving a solution, and they really enjoy everyone focusing on them, but then they don't really do anything to fix the problem, that's when you know they want the blue gumball. So some other areas, and this one's going to be a little bit shorter, but some of the areas that you would see is, my ex really broke my heart. And this sort of goes back into the green gumball because he's comparing you with her, but it's also more when they're saying this and they want the blue gumball and the pity, it's, I'm so broken, I'm so low that I don't know if I can be enough for you. I don't know if I'm enough for you. If someone thinks they're not enough for you, they're not enough for you. And it doesn't mean that they are not a good person, but they don't have enough to give because they're too focused on themselves. And we cannot be overly focused on ourselves because then we're not going to be able to give to our partner. There's the other person where their job is super stressful and they're always complaining about work and this and that, and they tell all these stories, and then you're just immersed in their troubled work situation that seems to never be resolved. It never gets better. It's always you talking about that. And the key note of somebody that is a gumball person is if you spend all this time talking about their issue and then you start to talk about yours, they get bored. They change the subject. That's someone who, this conversation really isn't doing much for me, so I'm going to yawn, act bored, irritable, and all of a sudden there's a complete disconnect when it's not about them. That's how you know, oh, okay, so you want blue gumballs, you want me to pity you want me to feel sorry for you and talk about your job, yet when it's time to be about me, or maybe it's even about your friend. You have somebody that gets diagnosed with cancer and you really want to be there for them. And all of a sudden they don't have time for that because it's your friend and they don't care. That's when you know, oh, if it's not about pitying me, then I'm not interested. And so these are the habits that I really want to see you look for in these different situations. The other one is my ex was super crazy and they had all these crazy stories and it really hurt them. I mean, sure, we can all tell our sad ex story, but man, when you really are in love with somebody, you don't want to hear about somebody else. I don't. I mean, it's just, it can be somewhat relevant in certain situations, but I can tell you that spending a lot of time talking about your past relationships is really not going to benefit your current relationship. What are we doing it for? I can understand points of reference to tell people where we're going, but the more you heal from the past relationship, the more you realize it has nothing to do with the current one. You'll spend way less time focusing on it and much more time on the adventure with the one that you love. The other one is, and this one is more sensitive, when they had a really tough childhood. I had a tough childhood too, not as hard as some other people, but this is an area where a lot of times people need to go to therapy. And so they bring up very traumatic, emotional, intense things, and they really should be talking to a therapist about it. And so they'll lay this heaviness on you. And like I've given the example before, it's like going to your best friend's house when you broke your leg and cringing in pain in front of them. And they're not a doctor. There's only so much they can do. And then they need you to go to the emergency room where there are people that know what to do with your broken leg. And our tough childhoods and our traumas, our abuse stories are really reserved for the professional that can help us work through that in a productive way. Then our significant others and our friends and our family can be support systems around that process, but it is our responsibility to be in charge of the healing and get the help we need from professionals so that we are not bringing in our broken bones and our bleeding, gaping wounds to people that do not have the skills and the ability to help us. And so we can get caught up in someone that's constantly bringing these traumas to us. And so we try to be there for them. We try to pity them. We say, what happened? I'm so sorry. And I think you want to listen to the stories. You want to be there for them. But I'm talking about when you can tell it's really painful. They haven't moved forward with it. And if someone's not willing to go to therapy, I don't know how productive it will be to talk about it with a significant other. When I think about the work I did with my therapist, I could have never done that work with a significant other because they're looking at you they have compassion, they love you, where your therapist isn't in love with you. So they're going to be very constructive. It's going to be much more productive, and you're going to actually get the healing that you need. And so it's so, so important. So to wrap this up, I know, am I going to do a quick podcast like once in my life? Pity is easy to do. And he presents a problem. We all have them. So what's the harm, right? But the red flag is here, does he present them early and often? If you had zero chemistry and attraction to this guy what would you do? You know what I mean? Separate the attraction and say, what would I do with this? Is this appropriate? So your first date should be spent getting to know each other. The conversation should be balanced and fun. And the guy who has a lot of sad stories enjoys the pity gumballs, as the sad story is likely to get all the attention and leave very little time for you. So I'm going to leave it there because I know I've given you a lot of heavy stuff in the previous podcasts, but maybe this is a sign I can actually do a faster podcast. But it's pretty simple. We can't feed into the excuses that bring the pity party. And we have to ask ourselves, what am I doing? And my therapist would always say, don't try to analyze yourself in the moment. Just reflect later. Okay, what was that night? What did I do? And sometimes you'll be like, wow, you'll be in the moment. You're like, I am totally giving blue gumballs right now and I can't stop myself. It's okay. You're still being the loving, nurturing you. And don't lose that part, because once you find somebody that really appreciates all of the love that you pour out, it's amazing how good it feels when you find the person that receives it well and appreciates it. It's like a whole different experience. So I don't want you to lose the part of you that does want to nurture and does want to pity, but instead, I just want you to think of it differently and make sure, okay, am I being appreciated? Am I being acknowledged? Is he hearing me, or is he just telling me this so I'll give him the attention and the pity, and he's not really even focused on the person in front of him? Or she, if you have a friend. A lot of girlfriends do this to their other girlfriends. It's always about her. It's always about her problems. You plan her bachelorette party. You're the one that goes to her showers. You always go to her house. I had one of my good girlfriends I used to work with, didn't even know she listened to the podcast. She goes, you know what? You helped me figure out one of my friends was a gumball girl. And it was exactly that. She did everything for her. And she goes, you know what? She did nothing for me. And as soon as I understood that, I stopped investing in the relationship, and she realized it was completely one-sided, and she was able to make peace with removing that relationship from her life. Look, we have to prune sometimes. You know how you take a rose bush and you take some of those pretty blooms off because they're wilting and they're taking nutrients that can be properly distributed to the blooms that are new or fresh or vibrant. So sometimes we have to remove some of these and prune some of this out of our lives so that we can flourish in other areas. Okay, so you don't have to feel bad, because that's how we feel, right? We feel guilty because we're not pitying, we're not being there for them, but they're coming to the wrong person. They're bringing their gunshot wound to your living room, and it needs to go to the emergency room. And so when you can make that differentiation, all you have to do is take the foot off the gas. He comes to you and says, I don't think your friends like me. Oh, why do you think that? I don't know. I just feel like they don't. Oh, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. See how we didn't give any gumballs? And then you'll see, no response. How does he feel? And it doesn't mean you have to be rude, but, well, you shouldn't feel that way. You could say, well, you shouldn't feel that way at all. That's not the case. Even that might have been a little tiny gumball, but we're not elaborating. It's not, my friends love you. Oh my God. No, just, I'm sorry you feel that way. That's totally not the case. Poor me. I wish things were better. Do what my guy said. Well, things could be worse. It's like, I'm not going to stay in my pity party very long. Yeah, well, I wish things were better too, but you know what? You're healthy, you're strong, and blah, blah, blah. So things could be worse as well. And, we only say these things when we know where they're putting that quarter in, right? We're not going to give in. My ex really broke my heart. Yep, mine too. It's tough, but you get through it, right? Yep. And you just give them dead ends to the quarter. They put the quarter in, and if you ever put a quarter into a gumball machine, you try to turn the dial and it's locked, and you're like, I can't when you can't turn the dial, can't get your gumball. And that's frustrating. So we want to date the guy who can put a quarter in and try to get the gumball, and he doesn't get it, but then he stays for the gems, which the guy who wants the gems really isn't trying to get the gumballs, but you don't understand. Like, yes, sometimes when I hear a friend to not give me the gumball, you can hear yourself trying to get it. Like you're being a baby or you want your attention seeking. And then you hear your friend go, or I heard my boyfriend say, well, it could be a lot worse. It kind of brings me back and like, yeah, you're right. I need to snap out of this. And so that's what we need to be to each other too, is kind of a check. Like, yeah, but snap out of it. I'm not giving you a gumball. I'm giving you a spoonful of spinach, like I'm going to snap you back into reality. And do you see how that's more loving than the gumball? So I have trust issues. Okay. What do you do to work through that? It's like, ooh, I'm not going to sit here and talk about your trust issues and feel sorry for you that people, everybody has worked through people they couldn't trust. It does suck, but you don't have to become Dr. Phil, So my job is super stressful. I've got all these things going on. Yep, it's a crazy time. You know what I mean? These are things, and you can apply these to any person that's kind of trying to do this, a coworker, where you become, I always say, channel your inner Kourtney Kardashian. How she just gives that look and she has no response. You do not have to give the gumball. And so I want you to start exercising this in your life. I'm not going to fall for the quarter. You're not getting the gumball. Thanks for the quarter. No gumball. Done. And that way you develop habits in other relationships outside of dating where you start to not respond to this type of behavior. And when this happens, you reserve and preserve your energy. And your energy that is so loving and giving can be properly channeled to the people that actually receive it. So when I first started going to my therapist, I had my little sister and big brothers, big sisters, the one I told you about before that got married. And he told me I was dating a gumball guy. And he said, your energy, your giving nature is better focused to Kayla than this guy. Be who you are, but just give it to somebody who's going to receive it. And it was so great because then I was still allowed to be my loving self. And she really did appreciate it. She was such a good kid. And so I got to see the value of what I had to give with her. And that it did mean something, that I was just giving it to the wrong person. And so that's what I mean. We have to invest so we don't lose these beautiful parts of ourselves in these guys that are just using our efforts as temporary fixes. So that pep talk of my friends will love you, it has wonderful intentions, and it is right for the right person. Like a person who really is good, who's not a gumball person, might have a moment where like, I don't know if these people are going to like me. And they deserve that pep talk. They deserve that dopamine rush. Sometimes they need it. Sometimes you need it. And that's okay. But when we start using and abusing people and putting in these quarters to get these reactions and we never really do anything to help ourselves, that's when we know we're dealing with an addict. That's when we know we have to address the behavior. So sometimes we're the gumball. Sometimes they are. When I say the gumball, I mean we're the gumball person. Sorry. Sometimes when you get into this vernacular around gumball, the term gumball gets loosely used. I'm a gumball person. I want gumballs, but it's all like, am I the attention seeker or am I the connection seeker? Am I needing just a dopamine rush here and there, or do I need the dopamine on a regular basis? Am I addicted or am I stable without it? That is the main thing. So look at these interactions, really pay attention to the cause and effect. Watch the interaction, become an observer, and preserve your energy. Try to resist the temptation to give the gumball. All right, I'm going to leave it there. If you need to get a hold of me, melissa@gumballlove.com to book a session with me. Please don't be afraid. So many people are afraid. It's like, I know it sounds like, oh my God, you're on a podcast and I'm going to be scared, but I'm the least scary person ever. And the messier, I don't care how messy it is, or even if it's not that messy, even if you just need a little guidance. I'm a coach. I have hired many coaches and done many masterminds, and it is so worth it to invest in yourself. So I highly recommend, if you're stuck, if you are in a bad relationship. Most of my clients cry the entire first session because it's emotional. So I'm used to that. And I love to see the tears because it tells me you're releasing, you're finally letting go, you've been holding it in. And then finally we meet in a session and we can do just audio. You don't have to be on camera. I'm available for face to face, but if you just want to sit and talk and not, be forced to be on camera, by all means, get in your pajamas, pour a glass of wine and we can chat, whatever makes you comfortable. But if you need help and you're stuck and you're sad and you're feeling lost or you're stuck on a guy and you cannot get off of this and you're like spending all your time looking him up on social media and obsessing, I understand. I've been there. I want to help you. So get in touch with me, melissa@gumballlove.com. You can book a session at gumballlove.com, or you can click the link in my bio on Instagram @the_Melissa_Ledger. All right. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more information or to schedule a private coaching session, or better yet, to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballlove.com. If you loved this podcast, I would love for you to share it with your friends. And if you really loved it, a 5-star review is the best compliment you can give. Remember, you are enough, you are right where you should be, and the only thing you have to do is keep going. I'll leave you with my favorite quote by Henry David Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you have imagined. Until next time, I'll see you soon.